All right, we're back live on the seafloor. We're approaching, have we named this vent? Did it get a name? Twin Peaks. Name this vent.
So Julie, where do you want to sample on this?
Well, there were exactly where you sampled before. We want to get our sample in the same place as the IGTs. Most of the science party was up till very late processing our samples from our great dive yesterday at Picard. Nereus crew knocked off around 11 p.m. and then they were up at 2 a.m. for pre-dive checks to launch the vehicle at 4 a.m. Hit the bottom at 6 a.m. Not a whole lot of sleeping going on out here. There's a lot of coffee. There are 2 espresso machines. And about 15 different types of tea to choose from. And outstanding food. So the crew is taking good care of us. We try to push this ship to its limits, working around the clock. As soon as Nereus came back on deck, we put in a CTD cast to 5,000 meters to collect plume water. So there are very few hours of the day or night when science isn't happening out here. All the chemists and microbiologists had a midnight snack. Took over the kitchen for a while we finished processing our samples. And we each took turns playing music, our favorite music, on our iPods. And it ranged from Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Mumford & Sons. What else did we hear? Some really terrible 80s music. I don't know how to say that. Some mellow Canadian female singer-songwriters. I wonder what time Max went to bed. He had to filter 240 liters of seawater last night. That takes a while. So yeah, it's that mound with...
It's right there underneath us.
Where you sampled before? Yeah. You can see it? Okay, I can't really see it. Okay. So you can see those shrimp swarming around the venting fluid. The maximum temperature here is 138 degrees C. Those shrimp are not living at 138 degrees C. However, they're positioning themselves right at the interface of where that shimmery water meets seawater. And they're getting hydrogen sulfide from the vent fluids and oxygen and CO2 from the seawater. And the symbiotic bacteria inside of them and on them are using that to oxidize sulfur, and that biomass is what supports some of these shrimp. There's also carnivorous shrimp down here. They eat each other and other things. And the shrimp here are very similar species as those seen at the deep site. So even though there's very different chemistry at these 2 sites, very different depths, the shrimp seem to have been able to live in both spots. Although Cindy notes that the shrimp at the deep site are quite a bit smaller, and she has some ideas as to why that might be.
So where do you
That hole to the left would be great.
Right in there.
Yeah.
Temperatures
10, 19, 30,
in the hole.
40, 50.
We have temperature measurements being read to us from the back. Do you want to read those for? Because Chip's also looking at his sampler. Seen about 55 degrees so far. We know it can be much hotter.
So are you guys going for hot, as hot as you can?
Yeah. You know, if we can get it around 100. Ooh. All right, we're creating a black particulate cloud there. Is it going down now? Okay. Okay. It's not an IGT. This is a super sampler. It's going to be a port for... Yep. You want to do this? All right, why don't you lock it? Why don't you lock it there? Let's give it a chance. Ooh. I like it, but let's give it a chance to clear. Okay. Whoa, wait. There's a bunch of...
I'm going to turn off the hydraulics. And it won't jump around. So you're happy right there?
What does it say? All right. We're happy. You can lock the arm. Oh.
It's very stable. What?
Oh.
137.
Don't touch it.
Yes.
All right.
I
Oh.
win.
We just saw...
40.
Oh, wow.
Okay, well, I'm going to jump.
All right. We're going to turn on the flush pump, or...
I'm purging.
All right. We're purging the system. Right. You don't have a flush pump. Chris very conveniently dropped the intake right into the hole he had made in those rocks. And the temperature is extremely steady, right at 140 degrees Celsius, about 18 degrees higher in temperature of any known microbial life, which makes it an interesting fluid to look at to see if there are signs of life, biosignatures of life, or any microorganisms that are surviving. These fluids are dragging with them all the biota that actually lives beneath the seafloor, which is what I'm really interested in, the microbes that are living within the fluids that are circulating through the rocks at the seafloor, in the subsea floor. Peaked at 140. It's still there. Really good job, Chris. Very stable. What?
Because I'm not holding on.
You're right.
You wanted to holster so bad you made one of the
Hopefully there's not a pressure build-up.
It's an open system. We're doing a bottle first, then a Sterivex. Right? That's the way it's set up?
Yep.
See, what was really you want to hold this steady for 30 minutes. And you just slam it down.
30 minutes without arms.
Is this a big, this one's-
Yes, it will be.
First-
Not quite yet.
this
Do you
first
think we
one.
have to worry about that tube melting?
No.
Okay.
No, because we know how fast the temperature drops off when you come out of the
Yeah,
hole, right?
yeah. Woohoo!
I'm going to start taking this sample.
Okay. 13,
All right, no, it's a bottle.
This is a whole water.
Whole water bottle number
Sample number 13.
bottle number 4, starting at 1703 at the site we've named Twin Peaks, I understand.
Yep.
Jeff and Jill are going to be jealous that we got 3 degrees higher than them
They'll just raise.
through Chris's novel sampling strategy. So one of the big differences between this sampler and Jeff's is that these are not gas-tight bottles, and so we lose a lot of gas as we go up through the water column. It goes out of solution because of the pressure change. but it allows us to collect very large volumes. So Jeff's sampler only collects 150 milliliters, and ours collects liters, and also allows us to filter liters of water.
And actually, I did say it was okay. But it was like the, okay, I'll get it back, not the, okay, you can take this.
No, that's fine. Somebody said it's okay. Somebody did it. Yeah. Cool hand. It's okay.
So we're gonna
You don't want all these IGTs down this way as well if you-
we're gonna pump water through this bottle for about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna switch to a filter, which allows us to concentrate microbial biomass. Those of you who tuned in early this morning know that when we do that filtering, we're concentrating around 300 million or 3 billion microbial cells, depending on the volume and the concentration of the fluid.
Oh wait, I'm actually pumping on a filter.
Oh, you are?
4, yeah.
Oh,
4
okay.
is actually a filter.
What for filter? Right.
Oh, yeah, all the evens are. That's right. Okay.
We ended with the whole water. I forgot.
Okay.
It's a half-hour one.
This is going to be a long one until it. So that started at 1703.
Yeah, the same. It's just all the information is the same except it's a Ceramix.
Yeah. We'll correct it when he gets back.
I'm wondering why I was pumping so slowly.
Temperature stable?
Rock solid.
It's 4.
So this is actually a Steravex, not a bottle. Yeah.
Still portable?
Yes.
Messing with me, huh?
Yep. We just want to keep you on your toes, Chris.
Look this. But we use pencils with little
Casey
kids.
said he had him, he had it turned.
It's never wrong.
He's all right now. Got it over there.
What are we at in terms of power? Battery, I mean.
38%.
Okay, we're at 38%. What do you need?
We're using power. We've got a couple hours.
Okay. So for those of you just tuning in, we're taking a fluid sample at this 140 degree C fluid. Chris gently placed the sampler in a little hole that he created to get a direct pipe to the subsea floor fluids leaking out here. Pipeline. So one way to access the subsea floor is through ocean drilling, but at high temperature hydrothermal sites like Damm and Picard, it's tough to drill through porous, fresh rock. It's dangerous because the temperature increases as you get below the seafloor. So most of ocean drilling has occurred in places that are either cold or have a lot of sediment cover, which kind of spuds the drill and makes it possible to get into the rock. So we use these fluids that are leaking out of the seafloor naturally as a way to infer what's happening geochemically and biologically beneath the seafloor. And some of the initial data we have from this site in particular indicates there's a lot of high temperature, heat-loving archaea living just beneath the seafloor likely. And so when these fluids that get washed out, they carry those microbes along. And that's what we study back in the lab. We are holding steady at 140 degrees Celsius as we try to pump as much volume as possible through this filter before it clogs up. It's going to clog up with minerals probably before it clogs up with microbes. These types of fluids can sometimes be really hard to detect life in, so we use a variety of different techniques, everything microscopy to activity measurements to single cell sorting. Wasn't it King Arthur? King Arthur, the sword and the stone? And who finally gets it out?
Disney.
Arthur gets it out?
Yeah.
Really?
He who brought the sword and the stone.
Oh. I don't remember making King Arthur sword analogies in the van. Sorry, in the control room. That was also Knights of the Round Table, right? Oh, okay. Medieval literature is not my strong point. Similar to macrobiology. Is the pump slowing down, Chip?
Yes. Start off at about 9 milliliters a second. Now it's maybe 7 milliliters.
So that's still 320 mils
9 times
a minute.
9 times 60 is
Oh, 630. What? How many? Milliliters per minute? You really think it's pumping that fast?
it was, yeah.
So in case you didn't know, there's someone in the room can correct me if I'm wrong. There's currently 3 vehicles that are rated to 11,000 meters in the world. One of them is Nereus. One of them is James Cameron's Deep Sea Challenger. And the third is a Japanese ROV. Abysmo. Have you heard of Abysmo? A Japanese ROV? The Japanese had Kaiko, which went to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, but it was lost in 2003 in a typhoon. The cable connecting it to the launcher broke in the weather.
Are they making a new one though?
It says that they are building a new one called Abysmo, and it will be rated to 11,000 meters. So one of the disadvantages of using a traditional ROV that deep is you have to drag on your ship and with you thousands and thousands of meters of cable. So if you have an 11,000 meter ROV, you probably bring, what, 13,000 meters of cable? Is that right? And that's heavy. So then if you're at the very bottom of that cable and the ship's at the top and you want to move 50 meters, the ship moves 50 meters, the cable starts to move through the water, and the vehicle slowly gets dragged along.
I can imagine putting an electricity down there as a lot of attenuation. It's quite a lot.
It's a very high voltage cable as well. So the way Nereus got around that is by using this fiber optic cable that spools out from a depressor weight. That depressor weight goes down to about 1,500 meters on a thick cable. And then we have separation of Nereus and the depressor. We have a fiber optic cable spool at the depressor and at the vehicle. And then Nereus can move pretty freely from the ship and from the depressor. I think they've gone up to 4 kilometers away from the ship. And that gives you a lot of freedom on the seafloor, especially when operating at great depth, because you don't have to wait for the ship to move to drag you along. But you also have to be really careful that you don't break your fiber. So you don't want to melt it. You don't want to cross over it too many times. And you don't want to pull on it or get it wrapped around a chimney, things like that. How long has it been, Chip?
13 minutes.
Where did Chris go? Is he still here?
One said he'd be back in
Okay.
15 minutes.
Did he take the sample log with him? Oh, you have it? Okay.
Hello, this is Leighton Raleigh. I'm one of the marine technicians on board. Just a big hello to all the SY shoreside who are currently tuned in watching the Nereus ROV taking samples on the seabed. So, welcome all those who are joining us. At the moment, we are taking samples from the small hydrothermal vent you see in front of us. We have fluids coming out which are 140 degrees Celsius. Just standing off. A few more minutes left, and then we'll take another sample. At the moment, we're putting this through a filter. The next sample will just be a quick water sample. One of the questions we constantly get asked is how deep can Nereus actually go? I'm informed that Nereus has been down to 35,768 feet, which is the equivalent depth of what a commercial airliner flies up. For those who are metric, that's 10,902 meters. This makes Nereus the world's second deepest diving vehicle currently in operation, and the first since 1998 to explore the Marianas Trench. However, that has now also been done, I believe, by James Cameron. Being a hybrid ROV allows Nereus to operate untethered. She can also act as an AUV. In ROV mode, she uses an optical fiber tether that has approximate diameter of a human hair. This tether can only weigh 4 kilograms, which is 8.8 pounds. In air, Nereus isn't exactly light. She weighs approximately 3 tons. And it's about 4.25 meters long, 14 foot, and 2.3 meters wide. She takes up quite a large space on the RV Falco's back deck. For those just joining us, we're currently sampling. We have 1 minute left of this sample. Then we will change over to another sample. Okay, we have now finished Nereus sample 13, port 4. A filter.
Alright, Chris, don't do anything. Starting sample 5 now.
Okay, we've just started another sample. The last sample we took was put through a filter, whereas this will be a whole sample collecting both water and the mineral content and microorganisms. So the plans for the rest of the day will also be going off looking for mussels, which we'll be collecting later. But at the moment, we are continuing to sample the fluids coming out of the vent you see in front of us. Each of these small vents is giving out fluids which are around 140 degrees Celsius. This will be research for Falker's second using remotely operated vehicles. Earlier, last year now, we actually operated DSSI Ocean Engineering ROV, during which we did some work in the Gulf of Mexico, studying some artificial reefs, coral reefs. In addition, we also looked at the area around the Deepwater Horizon and studied oil seeps on the Gulf of Mexico seabed, in which we actually did also see tube worms. After that, we moved off from that. We did a short shakedown cruise, getting familiar with ROV operations, during which we also discovered two wrecks, one of which has been in the news recently. Nereus is a type of vehicle which people have been prophesizing for a number of years, with traditional heavy armored tethers. As was being mentioned earlier, you have to literally drag these around with you and get the ship to move in various patterns around the ROV. Nereus's light tether, which has been mentioned earlier, is the width of a human hair, allows her a much larger degree of freedom away from the ship. So for those of you just joining, as you can see, we're currently sampling. We're sat in just away from three vents. Each of these vents is emitting fluid at around 140 degrees Celsius. The device that you see in the vent at the moment is one of Nereus's samplers, and it's currently sucking fluids from right inside the vent. These are going into bottles on the vehicle and will be analysed later on board by the scientist. Yep, I'd like to announce the winner of the temperature competition was actually myself, with 139 degrees, and the vents came in at 140.
Good job.
Yeah, marine technician, surrounded by all these scientists. So I'll be
Chris, do you want to come take over?
handing you to Chris German shortly, who is
What?
been sat with the Nereus team at the other end of the control console. They've been discussing how to best maximize the remaining dive time that we have.
Stopping that sample at 4:17.
It's good to see Mr. Chris actually is really pleased with the progress that we're making. We've already completed a number of the objectives for this dive. I think Chris's next objective might be to go and look for mussels. I'm just going to hand you over to Chris German in a moment.
So we're all finished with the this game of lawn darts that Chris has been playing. It's the new approach we have to high-speed oceanography. You fly over the site, you just throw the sampler straight in the rocks, and you just leave them there and move on. It's Chip's new autonomous super sampler. Although you can't go so far that you don't pull the tether out the ground, right, Chip? So we're going to recover this sampler and put it away. The next thing we're going to do after this is pick up some chimney fragment if we can. We think that's a long shot, but we'll get the bio box lid open just in case we get away with it. And then we'll go from there to collecting some of these shrimp that we see in and around the periphery of the vent site here. So in fact, I'll be back with you in a moment. I'm just going to go track down Max Coleman and get him into the control room so he can actually come and help select and hand pick which shrimp he would like for his sample basket tonight. So the time has just gone 1:30 in the afternoon here aboard the RV Falcor. We have now been on the bottom for about 7 hours. Technically, we wouldn't actually have to leave the seafloor for another 2.5 hours in terms of how much daylight we have available, but more realistically, we're just dropping below 40% of our power. So our next operation is going to be to try and pick up a small fragment of the chimney material, and then we'll be doing biological sampling for the rest of the day. So, Julie and Julie have left the control room. Chip's taking a break. He's turned off his super sampler to help conserve power. And Cindy is back with us, and Max is going to be arriving shortly as well. Okay, so whatever number he asks for, add 10 for Cindy. Do you want to choose your 10 first? If he doesn't show up yet?
Sure.
Or we can actually just focus in on the hose and you can say that one when you see a nice one.
No, first
You can sort that out when it gets back on deck.
big ones. Yeah, I kind of want big ones. He does too. Have to do silver.
There we go. I have to trust you two to play nicely, even though you have dissection scalpels and you'll be left on your own after dark.
Where the trash bins are. That's why I love it.
These directors, they really know their place,
I
huh?
think it's not a statement. Only about the size of the lab spaces.
No,
slip,
we're gonna try and get the piece of chimney first. So we do want the bio box open for that, please, if you can.
Sorry. So it's
That's
gonna be
okay.
a while before we do shrink. He's
5
he's
minutes, I'm
swimming.
guessing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm right in the middle of brain.
Okay. Nope. You can leave Max here and
Max, you pick the piece of chimney or you put it in this?
say again.
Who's picking the chimney piece?
I will.
So it's up to him.
And if you can lift off a little piece around that lip.
Go down there. John.
How about? Can you reach that bit just there?
Oops.
Give this about a 10 to 12% chance of success based on last year's successes with Jason. But Meg Tivey back at Woods Hole would still, she didn't get any of this last year, but she would still like to get some. We're less equipped than we were last year, so we have less chance of getting it. But at least if she's watching, she'll know we tried.
Is it really cemented in or is it fine?
It's really friable, I'm guessing, but the lower we go, the more chance we have we might get something. Haha. Exactly so.
No, you don't want that loose piece, do you?
I'm afraid not. It'd be nice to get a piece that's actually on the edge of the fluid flow. If you come back left, that one that's got the shrimp on it, if the shrimp are on there, it's probably not got too much temperature. It's probably pretty solid on the outside because they wouldn't be able to live there otherwise, so that's got a chance of being quite a solid piece. That's my famous last words for the day. Till next time I say something stupid, that is. Look at that left wall over there? Yeah. Sure. Oh. No. Tell you what, let's leave this because this isn't the best way to use our energy we have remaining. Let's see. We're going to slurp now, and we're going to want to get mussels later, so if there's no difference to leaving the bio box open, we could just leave the lid open, unless it's in your way. It's not going to slow down your drag when you're racing speed. Okay, so we're going to proceed now to shrimp slurping, if you're ready to go, Max. And how many animals would you like? Okay.
But it's going to take a bit of time, if I can crisp this, because we want them when they're not congregating.
Well, they're not congregating right in front of us right here, so we don't have to go very far to find them.
Okay.
We'll get hold of the slurp sample, but when we pan up, you'll see that all around here, there's one about every 20 centimeters or so.
Okay.
And we'll separate it out from each other.
No luck with mussels. And
We haven't got that far yet. That's the
okay.
next thing after we do.
You
We
went
want
over
to get
some-
this done.
Went over some dead mussels, though, is that right?
We went over, yeah, but we haven't been to the place where
Oh,
Cindy
okay.
saw the photographs of the best mussels, so that's the other thing we want to do. It's about, I don't know, John, if you have the ability to do us a range and bearing to that target 10. John's already concentrating on camera stuff.
Reserve of time and battery.
We have about 10% of our power remaining.
Okay.
So we want to do the slurping as efficiently as we can, and then we'll have about a 10, 20, 30, I think about a 40-meter drive to where the mussels are.
Another speed record? No.
And however many shrimp you want, Max, Cindy wants 10 more.
So there's about 10 all
So we'll count the first 10, and there's Cindy's, and then you can start counting how many you want. And hers, yeah, no, hers will be the ones at the bottom because they're the ones going in first.
Please log Chris has shrimp in his body.
So you're going to have to go with the hydraulic once ready.
Would it be more efficient to slurp on and slurp off, as it were?
I'll let them decide that.
Oh, yes. Okay. Those within sight, or
Mm-hmm.
going to be fun?
That's exactly the right kind of distribution. And there's plenty more like that back behind us as well, Chris, if you get through all the ones you can reach. Okay. Let's start catching shrimp. This is sample 15. Sing out when you see them go in, Max. I'm just going to take some other notes. I said the first 10 of yours, they'll be the, no, yours will be the ones at the bottom of the bucket, because they go in first, shouldn't they? And then,
So you want the middle bit.
This isn't really.
You've got a good education for one of those.
Oh, good.
Is it the slurp on?
Yep. By the way.
I'm just being wily.
Gotta attack them from the rear, but they can't switch it. That won't work. I was gonna say my 10 could come from a dense patch, but that won't quite work this year.
you wouldn't know which were the right 10. Oh, there's
3. 4. Oh no, it's a rock. Is that one or was it a rock?
that was one of them was a shrimp.
4.
I know this is gonna sound really uninvested in my 10 shrimp, but
I think if you back away from the fluid flow,
okay.
Chris, there's a whole bunch more, like, all over the rocks around this area as well. It might be easier to see without the Schlieren effect in your way.
As soon as I come off, it's going to be much more difficult.
Right, okay, got it. 5.
9.
These are okay if I just
Yep.
pick ones?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
that's exactly right for what Mac wanted.
Sparse
These
shrimp,
ones,
you
the
can't
the
put
antisocial
So
ones.
big.
'em. Fishing was never so difficult.
6. There's some over to your left there. 7. 8.
8. Nice one.
Cindy might not have been joking. The ones you get by the tail seem to. Nine. 10.
Clip has it.
Turn off the slurp. No, no. What is?
It's not letting go, huh?
Actually, it's not that far, so.
Right.
Fine.
So Chris now, because a little lump of rock got caught in the hose, he's just shaking that free to make sure it's not going to block the flow. We have the first 10 shrimp in the bank. And 14 now, 4, 5. I'm keeping a little pally, keeping a tally now.
There you go.
6, yep. Don't know how far downhill you can reach, but there's some off to the left as well. Yep.
Is that 2?
Definitely saw 1, I think.
Okay.
I've never seen them able to react this fast to get out of the way. Yep.
Back over here.
What about those ones right down in front? Are they okay?
Those right there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure if those were congregated in muscles.
Big con.
That 2 there? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Three more.
1, 2, 3, 4 more.
Big one.
That wasn't. That wasn't a specially gifted child version, was it? It swam straight into the snorkel. And they don't have to be in and around this fluid flow, Chris, if you do get to the point where you'd rather move. There's another one. Yeah. I think that's a red one with the green gonads.
The red one with the green gonads?
Not particularly.
Then have one green left.
They're shunned by biologists and the other shrimp alike.
That's good visuals, Chris. Chase it.
Go on there.
One stop down. Left.
Looks like if you just bump down to the left, there might be some happy fishing. Just see off. See where your light just disappears out there, just on the rocks down there.
Is that one?
Yeah, I can't get over that way.
You can't go that way. All right. I think background to our right is also good, which would also be lining us up. There's another about 5 meters behind us, and I'm heading northwest. There's oh, here we go. There's another place that's like a big crack with shrimp all around that area. So on the outskirts of that, there's another place if we run shy of enough shrimp. So Max, I make it you have 25 from here, and we have 10 for Cindy so far. I think that just became 26.
Should we try to move Chris, you think?
Yeah, I think back behind us there was a more diffuse flow site, but I think we've done pretty good at this area of what's easy to reach.
Yeah, no, absolutely, that's understandable.
And so if we sort out our range and bearing to that target 10, John, I think the heading should be about 340, something like that. It's almost like 180 up. Best bet mussels, number 10. Scroll down, there you go, up one. And if we turn ourselves around just within the next few meters, Chris, like almost immediately astern of us, there's a lot more of these shrimp just lying around on rocks without any fluid flow.
Okay, so you want me to try to line up one more spot here?
Yeah, I think if we can line ourselves up in this location and get 25 more of these shrimp if we can.
Yeah, great fishing, Chris.
Thanks.
Are you logging, Max? If you could log that we've just finished the first batch of sampling. Apparently we've been abandoned.
So you think off and to the left, Chris?
I think if you rotate round either to the left or to the right, we're sitting along the spine of a ridge that is heading off. Yeah, we're facing like down the length of that spine.
Okay.
So if we could, I mean, I know we can't do it, but if in the real world you could turn up and pivot on 180 and sat back down, you'd see a whole bunch of rocks with shrimp all over them.
And it's not lower behind me.
It's within a meter, it's the same depth. I think it might be a meter shallower.
Okay, you got left off?
Station number or
That was sample 16. Or samples 15 and 16 were for 10 and then it was,
35 was 15.
well, I called 15 was for the first 10 I counted, and then 16 was the next 25. So I didn't want to get to numbers that were too big. I couldn't count that far. I ran out of fingers and toes. So basically, anywhere in this vicinity, Chris, where you do see things that you can set up, but I think if we get ourselves headed in the right direction before we settle down again, then we can pick up and drive to the mussel site after that. But basically all this area in here, you can see like where the shrimp are just...
I like this spot right here.
Yep, that looks good to us.
It's very close to where I think we're going.
Perfect. Yeah, and we've hardly moved at all. That looks pretty good. Hunting ground there, Max, do you agree?
Oh, yes, just as I remember. Yeah, that's great.
So we'll give these a separate sample ID max, but we've hardly moved at all. We've basically turned up and just pirouetted.
So these will be 16, yeah?
17. We've had a 15, a 16 and a...
Yeah, 16 when I'm stopped.
Yeah. Max is just entering that now. So we had 10 shrimp for Cindy, then the next one was... Max is just logging was 25 for Max, and then we're going to get 25 more for Max, will be sample 17.
Correct my last one, experiment fire.
We can do that again.
Turn on, please.
Are you logging now, Les?
Yeah, I can log if you want,
Okay.
unless you fancy it.
Stay
No,
right
no,
there,
that's
just
fine.
don't move it for a minute.
I've already got the 25 shrimp in.
Okay, this is another 25, yeah?
Yeah.
We're just
Oh, yeah,
starting...
sorry, yeah.
Just starting... We're just starting sample 17. Time is 18:04. And if... One, two?
Push that one.
Hmm?
I might have mushed that one, sorry.
Well, they're going to mushroom when they get back on the surface, I guess. Three?
Can't reach that part. Stay tuned. Not there.
So we'll take them out and slope and stay special.
That's the one.
That was too much. You guys are a little harder to get.
Hmm. Maybe that's why they live by themselves. They don't trust people. And naturally suspicious. I was wondering if these ones out on the rocks would be less mobile than the ones that are living in amongst the fluid flow, but they're all... Four? Hmm. There's one.
It's better if I can't see.
Not content with hands-free fluid sampling. Now you want to do blindfold shrimp. Feel the force, Luke. Yay.
Chris, what flyer would you use?
Bit of sulfide chimney, I think. Well, Cindy proved that a bit of cow bone could do a good job of baiting them.
Oh,
Did that one get away?
Yeah, I got away.
There's one.
He just swam right in, didn't he?
That's 8.
Selection.
Yep.
separate out the stupid ones later.
The Darwin Awards. Would it be cheating, Max? There's a little crevice down there with maybe half a dozen all in one place.
That's fine. I mean, these are away from
Yeah.
the vent.
Can you see that little bit just there?
See if I can
Get a bunch out of that.
kind of map.
So we are, we're now still at a depth of 2369 meters. And the Von Damm hydrothermal field on the Mid-Cayman Rise. We're on a little ridge of talc boulders southeast of the main Von Damm spire. And looking into a field of sparse shrimp. We're not too far from an active fluid flow site we just sampled for the first time today called Twin Peaks. And we are midway through sampling some shrimp. We've got 43 so far. Our target is to get about another 15.
Turn off the slurp.
That's one.
Is that one?
Yep.
Calm failure.
That's another one.
I can't, it's not talking to the slave. Okay, hydraulics, please, or slurp, on, please.
Is that one all well?
That wasn't a shrimp. There's 2. That's a 12 out of this batch. A dozen more and we're good.
It's just below.
Mm-hmm.
We're stuck up on it.
Right.
Tilt down. I'm sorry, just not as fast. There's one. Yes. That's just leave it still for now. There's one.
Yep.
Yeah. Excuse me, muscles. Muscles don't go right.
She won a push-up contest one time.
Oh, what contest?
A push-up contest.
I did. Did I win? I don't think I won.
You did.
I got the most push-ups for a woman. Maybe I'll win. No, I think I got more than the science party.
You had the most in science party.
I wasn't in the science party.
No, this is on
Okay.
on the north. You and me and
Yeah.
Susan Humphries.
Bobby Reed, we had a ringer. Yeah. I think so. You were up there?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were out there?
Yeah, I think I
Oh, it was it was, no, it was Argo.
No. No, I think
Oh,
it
we
was
did it
Argo.
with Argo.
I think it was Argo,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Argo and Jason.
Argo and Jason?
Yeah.
Oh. But Bob Reed was out there.
Not that good.
Oh.
You definitely did more than Steve Lerner.
I did big push-ups. Real push-ups. It's on videotape. This one was taped. What I did.
That was the way you did it.
No, I used to be.
We're just coming down to 30%. So, biology colleagues, it's decision time. We have 30% power left. So it's 5% more. We're 10 shy of the 60 shrimp target. But we could spend our time to go look at mussels.
So we do back here, one more
We've got one more dive, and we could do the mussels at the very start of the next dive. If we do that, and then that would save us coming back this far south, because if we're here, if that's okay, we might still do it. Let's, if we can find a nice crevice. Oh, look at that little crack there.
That's
Can we get 10 from there? Is that no good to you?
Yeah.
You know, I bet they're the same shrimp that will come and go. Dense and sparse.
I can take this stuff over here though.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd
the
be
west
really
side.
good.
Just stay out of water.
You know, that's like whether you're down on Main Street or whether you're in the shopping mall or whether you're in the parking lot.
Yeah, but,
Maybe.
maybe.
So we got 25, we got 23.
Okay, so we're just going for, 10 more shrimp, and then if we have any time, we'll just go for a 50-meter drive. Yeah, we've got 14 actually. You got 14 max.
14?
Yep, so you're up to 39 now. You've nearly got 40.
We get
And
up
we're
to
going for
50 pretty soon, then I think.
yeah. I mean, that's the other thing is. Okay, so how about we just stay here and we basically take our time, just spend the rest of the time. We can time out on shrimp,
Grazing
and we'll get as many as we can on this.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll take as many as we can. Sorry, I thought I'd misunderstood that 50 was gonna.
Well, no, 50
You said not more than 100.
And I'm going to suggest, given the fact
Okay,
that
we
don't
may have
see
lost the
the-
arm. So let's just wait and see what's happening. At which point. Okay, we'll stand by.
Cycle subs and power, and then drop the solar panels, and we're gonna have to do that one. That's what it takes.
Yeah, I think in terms of getting more shrimp, Chris, where we were headed to was we were going to quite happily drop the plan to get to the mussels today anyway. We could quite happily just stay here and time out on doing what we can with this. So I guess there are two options. Are if we try and cycle power and the arm comes back, we can carry on doing shrimp. If we cycle power and the arm stays dead, then we've got enough juice we can still drive over and look at mussels instead. So we'll do either A or B, but not both.
Yeah, thank you.
We had that, if you remember, on Jason. We got to points where we just couldn't do any more sampling, but we had the ability we could go and do reconnaissance for the next day's dive. Sunday. Got 3 more dives for certain. 1 here and 2 more at Picard. But there might be a possibility that we could do 1 more dive on Sunday if we do a short dive before we leave.
So this is Wednesday, Thursday,
Thursday, Friday, Saturday guaranteed. I think it's 18 hours to Montego Bay. And we have to be there 6 o'clock Monday morning. So long as we leave away from here by midday on Sunday. So if we did a 4 o'clock start, we could do 4 hours on the bottom Sunday as well if we have anything left to clean up. Yeah, but you've got 4 more nights. Or we could just do C to D Sunday morning instead of doing a dive. So there's many different ways to get you C to Ds. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So good news. We phoned the IT squad and they said, have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? And now it's my turn to tell Chris Taylor, it's okay. So the time is now approaching 2:25 here aboard the RV Falcor. We have now been on the seafloor for about 8 hours. We're down to about 30% power left on our system. One of our primary objectives for today was to collect these sparse shrimp. We've been seeing they're very antisocial, these shrimp. The reason they live alone is because they really don't like getting near anybody else, and that includes us.
Yeah, I can't get in that hot water. Tom, failure again.
And we have another comm failure with the arm. We really shouldn't do that. Okay, is the arm still operative at the moment? I think the smart thing here is to stow the nozzle, I'm afraid, because then the shrimp can't swim back out. I think Chris is very worried that the arm's been twitchy all dive. If it did fail, that so to salvage something the best we can from here. There's nothing to say we can't come back with the slurp gun on tomorrow.
Sure. Why don't, where's enough time to have a look for muscles?
Well, that's the other option, I think. We have 29% power. Chris, let's aim to stow this, if you're worried about the arm, and then we can just drive and have a look for the muscles. And then,
I don't understand what's going on.
no, but we know the arm's been getting worse and worse all day, right? So it's giving us plenty of warning. We'd be foolish of us to be left with the arm sticking out on the nozzle. If we stow that in the holster, that'll make sure the shrimp we already have can't escape.
Slurp's still on, right, John?
So we'll stow that, because the shrimp in the basket is worth 2 on the outcrop.
Yeah, I like this. Absolutely, no shrimp and dice. Well, I was thinking of not doing it this way.
And the good thing is, these are bigger and fatter shrimp than you had last night.
Yeah,
That's a starting point.
very interesting.
So in terms of the material you can get out of them for the
But really
lipid studies.
swarming shrimp.
Right. There you go. The Fred Dibners of the shrimp world. So Cindy, what we'll do is we'll stow the holster here, and then we'll drive over towards the mussel sites. See if we can evaluate them, because that's still valuable to do today, to know if we see they're live, we can know where to go back to tomorrow. Drop a target.
Have a quick well-planned operation tomorrow to do the rest of the muscles first and then through.
Yeah. And John, before we leave this site, if we can drop a marker on our USBL position so we know where to come back to tomorrow to finish this, we'll call it sparse shrimp. Absolute. Well, both. Let's have it everywhere we know how. Thanks, Leighton. But we did get up to a round number. There should be 50 shrimp in there altogether.
I agree.
He'd better do. I'm the chief scientist and supreme leader. You have to agree.
You're right.
But I tell you, I had to have 5 surfs here with their hands and fingers out so I could count to 50. It's a good job they don't have a camera here in the control van. Great, thank you. Can we log that, please, Leighton, in the event log? We have dropped a marker called Target 17 in our DVL nav, and that's the sparse shrimp location that we'll return to for Max on tomorrow's dive. In DVL navigation. For Max Mill, or whatever you like to call him today.
The mark of an advanced mathematician, everything shoes off as well as his gloves.
Well,
Out to 20.
nah, but I don't have to be an advanced a supreme leader. I can just have other people holding their fingers up for me so I can count them that way. So, the slurp gun hose is stowed. So, yep, that means the shrimp can't swim out the other end. So, yep. I was going to lose count.
And in fact, since we are
I can, yeah, it's the bottom 10, then the next ones, and then I will. Okay, so we have a vector to the next site. We have about 70 meters to go on a heading of 320 to go look for mussels. So we're heading off now, 74 meters on a heading of about 320 degrees going northwest. We know where to come back to here to collect the rest of the shrimp that we wanted to collect for Max tomorrow. So our last option now. Our cameras are still working fine. We have about just under 5% power to spare. And we're on 28.5% power. I think at 25% is when we're done. So we're continuing now up the spur that strikes southeast out of the Von Damm mound. And about 70 meters ahead of us at the base of the mound, so uphill from here, is somewhere where Nereus took photographs earlier in the cruise during leg 1 that identified. Yep, I think one of those might be ours. That should be probably the Old Man Tree vent site. No, this is just a fluid flow site. Where the mussels are is actually further up. So we photographed this marker with Nereus as well on leg 1. Nereus Dive 53, we could actually see this marker. The one on the right, the diamond, is our X19. Perhaps we could log that, please. That's marker 19. That's Old Man Tree is the vent site there. Somebody else left. That's a different shaped marker. That may well be a Shinkai marker. The second one, there were 2 markers in view there. One was ours and one was not. But it's a different shape from the UK markers we've seen. They were using bucket lids in spring, weren't they? That's the vent site we had sampled previously. Was it X? Looks like it's X16. No, I think it is a 19. It's just curling around. It's a water jetted thing. Anyway, it's definitely the right size and shape. That's not ours. We don't know. Yep, it could be some experiment, so we'll fly by and leave it intact. We're not in the hunt for things we already know about today. With the rest of our dive, we're on the hunt for new things that we haven't seen before. And specifically, what we'd really love to find would be beds of live mussels. Even if we can't pick them up today, if we knew where they were and we could come back to them. 55 meters on 323. I'm afraid James didn't leave us the depth for this target, but according to the gradient, it should be about another maybe 5 meters uphill. This makes sense. This is now going to be the base of the cone that goes all the way up to the spires, Chris. So it starts off with sediment and then there'll be more rubbly material. And then this is just one continuous climb all the way up to the top. So here's plenty of dead mussel shells. But it's still further ahead. I think it's still another 45 meters till we get to the active ones. These I've seen before and I've been revising through reviewing the dives before. Cindy, would you like a pointer? Okay. You'll find a way to communicate effectively if you see something. Yep. There's another tube worm field up here somewhere as well, I remember from last year. Oh, there's tube worms just ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Have they come down a scree slope to the right? What's around to the right? Is that a holothurian down there? I guess there's more tube worms straight ahead in this view, Chris. Where we're headed is not far wrong. Sing out, Cindy, if you'd like us to stop and look at anything in more detail. I think so. I'm happy for you to have Cindy. I can't hear what Cindy's saying, but she can call in your other ear. Oh, okay.
So I think that means the list would keep going.
You'll let us know if you say things. Sure, but we trust you, Cindy. We can have relaxed protocol today. Hey, if you want to do hierarchy, I'll make you sit here with a microphone on and you won't like me. If it's biology, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to be calling the shots. Oh, we're still heading towards the target, right? We didn't get there yet. Yep. Onward and upward. Because, you know, this is a direction, Cindy, I don't think we came before. We've come due from the south straight up to the centre of the spire. We've come from the east. The pink is the USBL. So then we should head due north. That sounds good. Which is also directly upslope, right? And then our range would be just like another 10 meters ahead, something like that. So we've climbed up now to 2356 meters. We've come up about 25 meters in height as we've come about 50 meters over the seafloor. And we're now climbing the south face of the main von Damm spire. And we're on the hunt for live mussel beds. There's something over to the right now. Some light colours. In fact, it's also straight ahead, going by this, looking out the front of the basket. Those are shells, aren't they, Cindy? They're like a herringbone texture. It's not the rocky texture. Yeah. This is pretty much on the spot, right? So we have large shells. We have tube worms. That yeah, if we can settle up, and then we can always switch to the, do you think top of the screen? These ones up here? Yep. Let's get the vehicle settled up, and then we can,
You want me to be totally settled?
well, if you're, wherever you're stable, that we can actually then switch to the zoom camera and look closer. Okay? So, if we're going to nudge forward, let's look at these ones down here first while we can, just off the front of the basket. So if we pan down.
This one doesn't have iris control then?
Hang on. So these are the lower population, Cindy, right now. You can see they've got the front of the basket just in our view.
This isn't, this camera's not zooming or focusing. Did you guys have that problem earlier?
I think it's okay, but I think we're probably zoomed in so far that if the vehicle's moving, the depth of field is tricky. It did seem to be focusing this morning. Okay, so let's pan up to the, I think if you just pan straight up, there should be another set. And I think it was over to the right, Cindy, was that right? You were... No, those are all animal shells. Oh, I see. Yep.
Little guy right there.
Those little brown ones. Well, John, let's drop a marker here. What about these up the top, Cindy? They are disarticulated. No. Well, but no. Do you want to switch back to the wider field of view? Or do you want to stay on this? Sure. And then if they are disarticulated, the other option is that they've come downhill from somewhere. I know that hasn't ever worked for us yet when we've been doing this, but if we keep persevering long enough. That's not enough for you to get too excited about, huh? Well, the other option we have is that the photographs we took were right at the northern end of where we went with the survey. We could carry on this trajectory upslope, see what we find. How are we doing? Are we alright for a little bit more power and time?
Sure.
So maybe if we come back out of the zoom view, are you happy to come out of the zoom view, Cindy? So if we go back to the wider camera, please. And then we'll do the same thing again. I think there were actually two patches. That there were two separate locations that James had from Cindy's photographs that she liked best. Carry on north upslope, we may come to a second patch. Or we may just get beyond our photo survey and find something else we like. There must be something good around here because there are tube worms here again and we haven't seen any of them for a while. Yep, I think there's more tube worms off to the left. Yeah, let's look over to the left there. Can you see the white over there? Could be tube worms and maybe more shells. Yeah, let's head that direction. What is that heading? That's not far off where we want to go anyway, right? Yeah. Let's get camera and light back in harmony. There's still plenty more of these shells. Are these still mussel shells, Cindy? Plenty of worm tubes, if not tube worms. Let's have a look. Okay, these ones up here. We can go take a look at those, please. Well, let's go have a look. We have video, we have cameras, we can go look at things. We're not done yet. But it's a strange place to make a living, right, on this.
Zoom camera?
Yep.
Yes, please. Zoom camera, please.
Yep. You know, on this, yeah, that's what I said. When you see on this camera that Chris has, Cindy, over here on the left, it's almost like a river gully of stuff flowing down here. I wonder if we could follow up that gully, because that may just be stuff that's been swept down. How about that for a hypothesis? Just pan back up to the left. The clams or the tube worms? Whatever they are, sorry, the mussels. Yeah. Do we have any focus control on these things? No. Okay. Have we moved since we dropped the last target? Have we moved much since we dropped that last target? Or are we pretty much in the same place? Okay.
I think we just leap forward like maybe a couple meters.
Yeah. So, what I'm wondering is if all this stuff is disarticulated material that's been swept down from somewhere. Can you see on this? There's like a, almost like a riverbed across the seafloor. Why don't we just traverse up there and see if we can follow that track on that camera. Yeah. But they don't like it enough to have stayed alive long enough for us to sample them, so.
So I'm gonna look at this camera, just so we can see the one.
Sure.
It's off to my board a little bit. So this is basically
Yeah.
the same view right here. So you just
And I may just mention it, but just follow a curved trajectory around. So like, head out this way and bend around and see if that's like a downslope. It may not be, it may just be a whole bunch of stuff cascading down, but yeah, I think that's just rock. That's downhill that way probably, and this is like the cone. Which way is it we're heading now? Northwest. Yes, there's probably those tube worms. I think Cindy says they're about as thick as a finger. Yeah. Yeah, they're not as big as they look. So, moving on upslope to see what else we can find. And about how much time and energy do we think we have left at this point? How much time and energy do we think we have left? Okay.
So this camera's kind of looking down.
Yep.
And then this here,
This one allows us to look ahead and see what's coming up. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Looks like there's plenty more tube worms straight ahead the way we're going. There's a lot of tube worms here, Cindy. There's more tube worms than I realised were here. You did see this in the photo survey? I didn't think we had. Yeah, I think we're getting further north than we came with the photo survey. There's still plenty of shells here in the sediment, aren't there? The mussels don't live in the sediment, do they? They live on top. Oh, okay. And we had one live clam, is that right, from last year? And can you tell just from the shell which kind those were we were flying over?
when we brought them on ship.
Okay.
I think he got, that's actually, that's actually small.
If they're that big, they're probably vesicomyids.
That one might be a like a
Is this down on the bottom left? Do you want to have a look at that? It's like... Yeah? No? No? Okay. Let's carry on up to the right. Yes? Okay.
So this
Cindy's
side.
changed her mind. She would like to look at this after all.
Okay.
So if we could center up on that and then switch into the zoom camera. Yes, please. When
Okay, go ahead, John.
hear a great sound and it's disappeared into the mud. There it is. And the answer is dead. And is that does that count as is that a vesicomyid clam that's dead or a mussel? Do you think? Okay.
Should we go back to the Zoom?
Yep. Back to no. That's Cindy had seen enough. Back to the wide one. Thank you. So I think carry on upslope. And do you think rocky substrate or sediment is better?
I am possibly sediment.
F-
Mussels
So
are native places we
right. Well, let's follow up this rock sediment interface. We give ourselves 50-50 chance. Clams with our left eye, mussels with our right eye. Tube worms right up the middle. Yeah. Max completely lost his head going crazy over shrimp sampling last night.
And it's going to go up a little bit too.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like there's more white stuff. Let's bend a little to the right. Break away from the sediment. There's something dead ahead now. That's more shells, big cluster of shells. Can we just spin a little to the right and have a look at those? Again, I'm afraid that these are all dead. Okay, but let's stay on that heading and keep going up slope. And there's always, I mean, that's it. We're on such a steep slope. This is like a 45-degree slope. So it's basically as steep a slope as gravity will allow you to have before things start falling apart. I think that's why we see all this angular fragments and sediment. It's basically the whole hillside rotting and falling apart.
Do you expect to see them if you get to like 50%?
So the time now is 3 o'clock aboard ship. If we had infinite power, we'd be allowed to keep going for about another hour, but we've pretty much burnt through our batteries in a very thorough day. We've managed to keep going for as long as possible. We're working our way upslope. We're now at 2,345 meters water depth. Working our way up the south side of the Von Damm spire. Yep. Some rocky material.
It's getting stepping down now.
Yep. I think the smart thing is probably to head more to the northwest and go uphill. I mean, that's the only direction that is uphill from here, right? Yep. Like we did before, do like a 100-meter climb. Yeah.
And when you do that, what are you trying to do? Just to see
We have a-
something specific, or?
Have he's looking at what kinds of. See, he's interested in looking at. Yeah, he's interested in looking at what kind of animals might live above the vent site. He's interested in what kind of zooplankton, what kinds of animals might be living above a vent site. So just ordinary deep water animals.
So is it like, so what kind of setup you want? You want lights on?
We'll have the two. We had the two inner lights on, facing out in front, and the camera panned up, straight ahead. When we do that, when we leave bottom. You know what we could do then, Cindy, is drive ourselves up now to the spire, get to the top there, and then do Brennan's survey from the top there. So let's do that. I think we've gone right through from where the mussels were. So what we'd like to do then is head up to the shallow top. It's about another 45 meters above us. So we can scoot up there. Yep. Go for that bullseye. And then we'll end the dive there and then come up from there. We'll do the photo survey coming up. Absolutely, yep, yep. And then you don't have to hug the bottom. So that's it. So we're going to make a beeline now for the heart of the vent site. And we'll get there. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll do the photo survey. So we'll do that, Cindy. We'll come up to the bullseye. And then we'll set up to do Brennan's survey up from the top there. And that's what we'll do with our last 2% of battery power. And we've made use of every last moment that we can.
Oh, this is Brennan.
Phillips? Yeah. So we did one of these. We did it over the Picard site 2 days ago, I think, over the Black Smoker. And it also means we end the dive on a high because we get to go look at the teeming shrimp that Max doesn't like. The common or garden variety, right? Actually, Max does like them, but he's had so many of them earlier in the dive cruise that he's not quite ready for any more just yet. So our time now is just after 3 o'clock. Our water depth is 2,342 meters. And now we have a range and bearing to there of about 45 meters.
No, that's what we wanted to decide. You want the bearing to 7, right? Is that right? To 7? Arrow loop?
No, it's to the west of that. It may be a target that James didn't put in. I would just do. We want to the center of that circle, yeah. Due north 100 meters. And the depth of it is about 2,300, Chris, so. So at some level we already are coming up, right? And we can keep our eyes peeled, John, maybe if we do see any extra new sites of fluid flow I didn't know about before. I might ask you to drop another marker on the fly as we go in the DVL nav, just for future reference. That was pretty much from last year's surveys. We ended up doing some reconnaissance, and that's exactly how we found that new vent site we went to today. It was one that we knew about from our Jason surveys, but we'd never stopped and sampled. And it turned out to be the hottest vent site on the southern side of the Von Damm field, so there's never any harm in finding new places. Mm-hmm. It's more of the sulfide mountain. You see on the DVL nav, Leighton, we're just coming up to the concentric circles. This is just this is the start of the climb right up to the summit. See on the contour lines there? And it's funny, basically, I think all the tube worms are south of us now. I don't think we see any tube worms from this point onwards. Actually, that's not true. You see tube worms coming up this route. They're actually the first time Paul and I saw tube worms are right round the east side somewhere, weren't they, on the east flank? There's hardly any sediment cover here. This is all rocky boulders. I don't know, either that or this is fairly, I mean, if this is the most active mound, it's permanently precipitating more of this material, and it's just rolling down. Maybe it's just, it's been too active to get buried with sediment. Well, let's ask Chris, can you notice any current blowing you sideways as you're coming up here, or is it pretty still?
There's no sideways current.
Okay.
I haven't seen much current at all, except
Mhm.
First sample site there was a slight. Something right there in front of us.
Big lumps of mineral. I think that's just mineral discoloration, isn't it? Yeah, if it was shrimp, they'd be moving. Yeah, it's a lighter colour, isn't it? Some of those squat lobsters there, maybe? Little round patches. They may be individual squat lobsters, maybe? Let's just keep going up anyway for today. We're now up to 23, 22 meters. We're probably at a spot, Max, where we're going to start seeing sparse shrimp again. But a different set. A whole new shrimp village. Where you can see we're getting... Yeah. Is there a couple of tube worms there? Just fly in and take a quick look. Yeah. Rugged hill climbing tube worms. Can we drop a marker there, please, John? Yep. So these are high altitude tube worms. They're at 2,325 meters, I think, if we add the depth and altitude. Yep. There's a small number of them. We're on the southern side of the Von Damm mound. I think that's good, thanks, Chris. We can carry on up. Did we get a fix of where we are?
DVL target 19.
Great, that was DVL target 19, Leighton. That's pretty cool. I don't think we'd seen tube worms this far up on the hillside before. Say we hadn't seen tube worms up this high, but I don't think we'd come up this far along this path before. So we're basically at our outer juice point. We're basically at our
We're fine.
time to come up.
To the top
And so we'll, right, this is about the right way. We've used up our 25%, we've reached our 25% time to start packing your bags and going home from school time. And we're 10 meters off the summit of the mound. You'd almost think I knew what I was doing, huh? But no, you've known me too long to ever think that.
Be lucky than good.
And consistently lucky is best of all.
Yeah.
Almost certainly. I think these might be shrimp. You see the white discoloration there? I don't know if we can just nudge in a little bit closer to confirm that, but I think all those little white specks are going to be dispersed shrimp. Snails. Ah. Bet now, children. Flip a coin. You can trust a geologist about biology, or you can bet on snails. And the answer might just be rock, gravel. I'll switch to the zoom camera briefly.
Zoom camera.
Zoom camera says no. I'm not getting any wiser. I don't know, maybe it's all just rock fragments, huh? Some, yeah. That's why you really shouldn't trust a geologist talk about biology, because sometimes it isn't biology at all. It's just gravel. Yeah, it's a little pink shrimp. Is that going to be one of those little... Do you recognize? Can you see what that is, Cindy? Is that the pink shrimp with the green gonads? Yeah. Alright. He's had his 15 seconds of fame. Let's move on up the hill. Sorry guys, I'm distracting you from the primary objective.
Primary objective is to
Look at stuff. Yep.
There's a shrimp right there.
Yep. So it's 3:15, we're carrying on up the hill. Our sampling arm has had enough for the day. We've nearly been on bottom for 9 hours. We're almost out of juice, but we've got the promise of a 10-meter high spire directly ahead of us.
Can you move that BBL window down a little bit? No, I'm sorry. I want to see a little more of the solar. Sorry. There's more shrimp.
Yep, that's looking good. Sign we're getting closer to the top. When we get to the very top, this spire, if you were with us on Friday, you'll remember is absolutely teeming with shrimp. Several layers deep, and you can't actually see the mineralogy anymore. That the top of this spire is the same mineralogy as the stuff we're looking at here. But the high temperature fluid flow on this conical mound is sufficiently warm and chemically rich. It provides a sufficiently pleasant environment that the shrimp are absolutely swarming all over the place. So hopefully that's something we're going to get to show you just to finish out the dive today. When we get to the top, there are not just the shrimp, but also the zoacid fish. So you can see again, sparse shrimp dotted over the rocks down to the right, which may tell us we want to bend a little bit that way, Chris, to head straight up slope. And the concentrations of shrimp now getting thicker and thicker. And as always, if you want to find active fluid flow, the smart thing is typically to follow the biological gradients. Wherever the most animals are is where it's most conducive to life. And in hydrothermal systems, where it's most conducive to life, maps pretty well to where there's active fluid flow and the dissolved chemicals being made available that they can take advantage of. Into very high concentrations of shrimp now. What I'd like us to keep an eye out for is if there's anywhere that's particularly active with fluid flow on this side of the hill before we get to the top, because that's an area we haven't ever sampled before. But I think both Jeff and Julie's teams would be interested in that as well as we come up this way. Got very bright targets now straight ahead of us. Where would the USBL put us just now, John? Ah, here we are. I think we're arriving in the right place. Yep, that's a little pink dot. And it should be just a little, maybe to our left. Chris, we might be on the east side of this now. So very much approaching the summit. Maybe when we can get there, we could do a little, just set up, take some nice pictures, get some nice imagery. Yes, that's right. When we come off the top, there's a big zoazid fish flying across the west side there. Yep.
Black spot of shrimp.
Yeah. That's where they. Can we pan up with the camera so we don't quite see, so we don't have any of the frame? How's that? Yeah. So we're at 2288, so we're pretty much right at the summit now. Maybe we can just come down a little bit and then go in around this left side. Have you guys seen the big hole at the summit? Do you want to see that? You got 5 minutes? If we come around, it's basically, this is the summit, this is the shallowest point here. It's on the north side, about 2 meters down, so you see this big dog's head thing? If we could lateral round here to the left.
That's double what we saw the end of the first time. Yeah, pretty impressive.
It's a nice thing to go look at. So yeah, we don't want to come any shallower, but it's...
We don't want to be in shallow.
Hmm?
We don't want to
No, it'll probably be about 2 meters deeper than this point as we come around.
So shallow.
So we want to lateral round and do like a 180 so you're facing... And I think if we get down to that point, then we can set up the cameras and then we'll just come up off the top of that. That's some pretty nice photography just there. It's a nice way to use the cameras, huh? Actually, if we hold up just there, could we just try a couple of minutes with the zoom camera? Can you steady up there?
Yeah, I'm steady. I'm an auto depth.
Yeah. We're just going to take just a minute or two with the zoom camera to try it out, Cindy, in this environment. Do we have any? Sure, why not? Do we have any focus control? This should be 18, I believe. That's settings. Heading now is 019. Depth is 2289. Okay, that's cool. Thanks, Chris. Let's switch back to the yeah. I just wanted to try out the camera and see how it did up there. I've got 20 seconds or so of good stuff. So if we, basically you'll probably want to come around to being on a heading of 180, but trying to keep that rock face in sight. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, is walking around.
Yeah. So this is the western end of the spire where we were doing the fluid sampling at the start of the first dive on the Friday. It was on the eastern end of this thing, so basically it's kind of flat along the top, but it's like one giant chimney, and the north half has kind of fallen away, is our best understanding, and that's what's exposed that hole that used to be up through the core of the whole spire. And now what you see at the base of this is the shrimp live around the outside, but when you come around the corner, there's the hole down the bottom. It's about 1 meter wide, and the flow hugs the inside of the chimney, what was the inside of the chimney, so it's like an overhang. And where the fluid flows up there, you see a complete bare black rock with no fluid. Oh, sorry, no shrimp, because it's too hot for the shrimp along the underside of the overhang. Okay, so I'm talking to the internet and talking to the captain at the same time. If you tell them to give me 5 minutes, I'll be off the seafloor. So what we're doing now is we're looking due east along the close to the summit of the spire, and as we swing round now we're looking on the east side is the back of the chimney. On the west, coming to view down below, you can see some shimmering water coming out, and we'll see as we drop down probably about 1 meter or two. We're right at the lip of a giant orifice. It's about 1 meter wide, with high temperature fluid coming out of it.
My tail keeps getting pulled out.
Yeah? That's the Oases. I think we may just be further off, Cindy. Do you think? Were they actually babies, or are we just further away? Okay. See if we get the chance to rotate through another 90. Yep. Well, it's one of those things when you've been careful with your tether all day. Then I go and get you to do the dangerous thing of then go wrap yourself around the, all the way around the top of a spire, right? So what we're looking at now, we've dropped down a little bit. Our depth now is 2,293 meters. We're about 5 meters below the summit. You can see the bare rock, and what's just over the rock just ahead of us is about a 1 meter wide orifice emitting more than 100-degree fluids.
Check actuators, make sure my lateral is working. I think there's a current here and I can't push against it.
And
Yeah, I'm gonna have to back off.
okay,
But I'll come out there.
can you swing out and round? Yeah, we'll just drive that way. Yeah. Well, now you know where you're going. I didn't want you to come too far astray. But if you haven't seen it yet, it's well worth going to look at. And for the people who've persevered with our dive for the last 9 hours, I think the least thing we can do is reward them with a last look at a large interior of a hydrothermal chimney. It's pretty cool actually. If we put the lights on, you can see right down inside the hole as well. It's given me a whole new perspective on the plumbing of hydrothermal systems compared to what I've seen before. No, it's just ahead of you. There it is, you can see the shimmering water there, look, and all of that hole, almost as wide as your basket, is the... And the fluid there's about 100 degrees. I wonder if we can just nudge up to the rim. And that's it. That's the main fluid that we think has precipitated that entire hill we just climbed up. So maybe 100 meters wide, 50 meters high, and all these boulders are made of the same mineral that you could actually get if you just took that fluid and precipitated it with seawater. That's this talc mineral that would come from that. And directly above this then, what we'll do is we'll set up to do this camera survey now as we leave the dive. As we come up, directly above this is where the shrimp are with the... You can see even just to the right. And can you see how it's like the black mineralogy? Okay, so if we could set up for this, if we can maybe back away from this a little, Chris. Yep, you're stable. Actually, could we just pan our video a little bit so we can get the fluid without the hull of Nereus in the way? So if there's any opportunity, that's okay. Is it? Do we get a chance to go back down, or are we getting blown away now?
I don't have a lot.
Okay. So this is a nice view actually. We can see the main hole, the main orifice with the fluids coming into view down below us. And then we have in the near field the shrimp living on the side of the mineralogy. So I think, Cindy, is this about the right orientation for Brennan's survey as well, do you think? Yep. Did he need to have something in? Did he need something in view for scale? Okay, so let's come back down one more time, if we possibly can, knowing that you're getting pushed up as well. And then if we can, and if we pan down, so we just got the front of the basket in scale, so we got something for scale.
Just tell me where you like it.
As soon as we can just see the edge of the basket, that's good, because we can measure the length of the bio box for scale. And if we can have the 2 interior lights on, and the rest can be turned off. And then what we'd like to do,
Just inners.
can we just pan up a little bit more without losing the front? Oh, that's too far.
I know, it's like...
Yeah,
ladder.
that's... No. So,
Stay, stay, stay.
that's it, that's perfect. So we've got the bio box in scale, we're looking out the front. And what we're going to do, Chris, we're at 2290, we're going to keep the lights and the cameras on for 100 meters up. I'm going to call out the depth every, what do we do, Cindy, every 2 meters? And then we're going to drive up. So we're starting up now. This is the end of the dive, everybody. We're doing a video survey. The time is 19:29. I wanted to have 10 hours on bottom if I could get it today. We've had 9.5. That's not bad. We've basically used up all the power that was available to us. And we're heading up now. This is for a survey for Brennan Phillips from the University of Rhode Island. We are going to be looking at the animals in the field of view at the vent site and then seeing what happens as we come off the top of the vent site. So we started at 2290. We are now at a depth of just coming up to 2288 meters. Look at the shimmering flow just there. We've been pushed up fast there, huh? 2286 meters. Look at that view right over the top of the vent site. This is the plume that Max wants to drop his CTD in later on, so it's a good job we're leaving because the CTDs come in here in about 4 hours' time. Now at 2285 meters. It is, yep. It's coming right here. Sure. 22 83 meters. 2280 meters. 2278 meters. 2276 meters. 2274 meters. 2270 meters. 2268 meters. 2266 meters. 2264 meters. 2262 meters. I don't believe so. 2260 meters. Can we change the speed we're coming up, or are we just getting pushed up? 2258 meters. 2256 meters. I think to start with, we were getting pushed up because we were right over the vent.
Yeah, we got right up in
2254 meters. 2252 meters. 2250 meters. 2248 meters. 2246 meters. 2244 meters. 2242 meters. 2240 meters. 2238 meters.
I'm thinking if we come to a hover,
2236 meters.
we might see if those are animals or particles.
2234 meters. I'm just going to hover here in auto depth for a moment. So we are 60 meters up. We have 40 more meters to go. We're just stopping to see whether these are really animals swimming around, or whether this is just particulate material we swept up with us. I don't think we've touched the bottom for a long time on the way all the way up that climb. So, but we do know that the plume comes up to 2100 meters. What do you think, Cindy? Hey, look at.
Wait until we stop, I can't tell.
Well, we're at constant depth. Oh, we're at 2217 meters, 2216 meters.
there.
2215 meters, still coming up slowly.
Well, channeling Brennan.
Yeah?
in
You think you
order
can
to
think?
see some, I don't know if I'm right, but if I were trying to understand this, maybe going up very slowly and stopping every 10 meters, you know, which it's got to take time, but I don't know if you,
Right.
I don't know if you have that time.
I don't think we do. We're out of time and energy, I'm afraid. 2214 meters, yeah, we'd have to burn energy
Right.
to stay here.
Over Damm, this looks interesting enough that that might be something to think about. That's part of why
Okay.
we're doing this, is to think about how to
Okay.
do it better.
I know.
Yeah, whatever you want to do from here. But I think some of those are real.
Okay. Well, I know this is something that Chip also wants to try and do, is to actually do his super sampling over this site if we get an extra dive. So let's see what payload we end up with when we come back here again. Yeah?
I can tell those are alive.
No. Okay. Let's carry on up then, please, Chris. Just 2215 meters. And we're getting... The nice thing about this, if he does frame-by-frame analysis, the high def will get 30 frames a second, so although we're coming up fast, there'll be an infinite supply of still frames to look at. 2214 meters. 2212 meters. 2210 meters. That's 80 meters. 20 more meters like this, Chris, please. If that's okay with you. Are we okay for power still? We still okay for power as we come up here? 2208 meters. No, I think this will be good. Because Brennan's going to be out with Cindy in August as well, so this will be data to help evaluate how to set up experiments then as well. 2206 meters. 2204 meters. 2202 meters. 220 meters. 2198 meters. 2196 meters. 2194 meters. 21920 meters. 2192 that was. And 2190 meters. So that's the end of that sample. Thank you, Leighton. We've collected a 100 meter survey straight up above the Von Damm site. Yep, so we're all done. Thank you, Chris. That's the last scientific operation of this dive. That was the basically coming to the end of Nereus Dive 060. We're going to be shutting down operations, conserving power, cutting our video link very soon. So thank you very much for joining us on today's dive. Tomorrow, Dive Nereus 061 will also be at the Von Damm hydrothermal field. Today we've focused mostly on the southern side of the main spire. Tomorrow we'll be going to the eastern and northern sites and continuing our sampling there. And we hope very much you'll join us then. You'll be able to find out on our Twitter feed and on our Schmidt Ocean Institute website exactly what the launch time will be. We'll either be planning to launch at 0400 Eastern Time, or perhaps 0600, depending on how much maintenance and wear and tear the vehicle needs and how much time the team need to get us ready. But otherwise, only remains to say thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be diving again tomorrow. Thank you.
From Schmidt Ocean Institute, I'd like to thank Chris German for his wonderful narrative, also Julie as well, and Cindy. I'd also like to thank the Nereus team for an excellent dive and piloting. And once again, thank you to the SOI Shoreside. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow.